Well, let's start with today. How did today go for you guys?
It was a very good day out here. The weather's really nice out here, but this grass field is perfect. We could get a lot more done individually, get a lot more done with space and distance, and I thought it was a really good day overall. We did more situational things at the end, getting more and more live with the special teams pieces, so all of it's come together.
What are the benefits of coming out here instead of staying at Bridgeport?
Well, there's a couple of benefits. One is that this is a lot softer, right? Anytime you just keep taking a pounding on there on the turf field, it is what it is. But eventually shin splints, ankles, joints start to, get a little bit sore. Here, it's a lot softer. That's first of all. Second of all, the space you have out here is significantly more. So, when you get to individual drills and you're putting 100 some guys on that field, you're trying to find space with the offensive line in the corner, the D line in the corner, as you're doing other things, almost running into them at times. I think out here just affords you a lot more room to be able to operate with a full field for just about everybody.
Will you try and continue that throughout the season?
Probably not. No, I don't think so. I think that we're closer on class schedules when practice ends, and to be over here and have that 6-minute walk back. Not that it's a lot, but it kind of is a lot when you're cutting it as close as they can.
Talk about the scrimmage on Saturday. What were your thoughts on that, and how did it go?
I thought it went really well. We were trying to keep a couple guys out of it, that we wanted to see on defense, that we felt like we wanted to see some other guys that didn't get as many reps in the live scenario. So that's what we ended up doing out there. There were a lot of guys that were playing defensively that were going live for the first half of that thing. I thought offensively we did a really nice job. I thought that the communication was really good. We got a line, very quickly. The motions and the things that we had tied into it, I thought looked really, really good. And I thought they executed at a high level. So overall, really, I thought it was a great day.
Camp is starting to wind down. Do you like where your team is at as you wind down camp?
Yeah, you like where your team's at. You always, it's never enough though, right? It's never enough, regardless of how good you feel or how good you think they look or how healthy you are. It's just never enough. You always want more, and I think that these guys are the same boat. You saw when we brought them all up in here, they were not wanting practice to be over. And I think we got to just be smart about volume and things we're doing as we're leading into this, pretty close to game week.
Do you have most of everything in that you want?
Yeah, pretty close. Yep, there's a couple things. We just did the 4-minute stuff here at the end, but other than that, there's a couple special teams things that we got to get to, but they're like one-off things that you may never see all year long that we got to make sure that we just cover.
What changes now when camp does end, once you get into kind of game week? What changes at practice?
Well, at that point in time now, we have everybody, we're going against each other the entire time. We're still evaluating and trying to get people reps and trying to see what they can do. When you eventually get to that, it's really, the scout team shows up. You really got your 1s and 2s, your pair and a spare of other guys that got to come over with you. But then a lot of the other guys got to go down and give a look, and their reps then start to come from the compete period, start to come from individuals, start to come from, when we, schedule and put on the practice plan, just those younger, more extra rep scrimmages that'll happen mid-practice, etc. So it just the reps get a little bit tighter because the time gets a little bit tighter. The amount of volume you can do on the field gets a little bit tighter. Everything just gets a little bit tighter. So you got to be a little bit more efficient and really exact with the looks you're getting and the reps you're getting.
When I talked to Petaway last week, he said that he really wanted to improve this offseason on making sure that he was finishing everything. He said that he felt that he would start games fast and then kind of trip up toward the end. How have you seen him this last offseason really improve and make sure he was capitalizing on that?
Yeah, well, he took the weight room, a whole lot more serious. He's done a great job in there. And then that is the big thing. You get up to that next level, you get that third level, can it make someone miss? We did a good job of it last year. He wants to be elite at it. I think that's something he's paid a lot of attention to. We haven't had as many of the live scenarios, but you can tell when he gets on someone's edge and finds a soft shoulder and puts himself in a pit with only one run through and set up. He's done a great job of that. Obviously, he's a threat out of the backfield. Obviously, he's a threat with breakaway speed. There's a lot of really good stuff in his game. That was the one thing he really wanted to focus on, and I thought he's done a great job of it.
Couldn't help but notice AB in the black jersey today. Is that safe to say it's at least a step?
Not really. No, we're just in the same spot. I just didn't, as I spoke to him going into the scrimmage, I didn't want him to be the only guy out there with a red jersey on. I talked about let's put all the quarterbacks in red, but we're saying, man, everybody would, they know to stay off the quarterback, so it didn't really make a difference. I just didn't want him, and he didn't want to be the only guy out there in the red jersey as we're getting closer and nearer to game day.
Dave talked about just with camp winding down. Do you kind of sense from certain guys like, hey, this is kind of like my last chance to like make an impression or try and like fight for a spot?
Not necessarily. I think they've been doing that the whole way through, the whole time. I think those are what the best do. Is that we said it before. Don't just look at exactly where you think your position is currently. Focus on your trajectory. Right? Not just your position, but your trajectory. And I think that's a big thing, is what can I do today to put me in a spot that changes my trajectory, tomorrow. And I think that's a big piece. We all end up getting kind of, put where we're put, and it's every opportunity I have within that depth chart to just keep proving myself, gaining confidence in myself, which then shows the coaching staff the confidence that I have in myself, and then they in turn have confidence in you. So it's just a day-to-day thing, and that thing never ends either, though. So it's not, they should be doing that from day one. They should be doing that into week 1. They should be doing that into week 6. They should be constantly doing it, because we all know, last year and other moments in time, it's going to happen, I'm sure, some moment this year, where you're going to have a guy that was a third string guy become a 2, or a 2 become a 1, and you got to be ready for that opportunity when it presents itself.
Was there anything after the first scrimmage that you sort of took away that needed to be worked on a bit, that now after the second scrimmage you feel more comfortable with?
Yeah, I felt our tempo, and I thought some in-game, I'm not even talking about plays, I'm talking about the things that we do before the snap of the ball, when substitutions are happening and when they're not happening, and what are the ways that we're going about the, changing the snap count, what are the ways we're going about all the different, motions and things that we're doing. I wanted to see that just be a whole lot more crisp. I want to see that be a whole lot more, dialed in. I wanted to see them get aligned fast and both sides of the ball, communicate violently, and get ready to play football. And I think that's more pre-snap stuff that I want to see get better, and I thought they did a really nice job of that.